أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Today I'm going to be talking my talk, which is called The Gift of Wisdom. The best point to start with would be to talk about wisdom itself. Wisdom is something passed down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us that allows us to differentiate and to understand things, comprehend them, and sort of compare them. And that's something that is very prevalent in the material world, where we compare a lot of things. For example, let's say when we talk about something being big in relation to what? That's a comparative term. We do this a lot with the line between good and dark, light and dark, stuff like that. So all of this is comparative. And so wisdom is how we can rightly compare things, because we can obviously compare things in the incorrect way. And hence, that is what wisdom is. Then, today I won't be talking about wisdom, nor how we can achieve wisdom in a way. But I'm going to be talking about the person who is the most wise, who has been declared as the wisest person. Obviously, the wisest person is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but someone who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has considered as wise. And that is Luqman al-Hakim. And he, even in the Quran, has been named as someone who has wisdom. So I'll be talking about him today. But the reality is, does anyone of you know Luqman? Before I start this lecture, can I make this clear? I really need your feedback and your interaction, because that's how it's going to work. So if I ask the question, please answer me. So, do you guys know anything about Luqman at all?
There's a surah named after him.
Alright, that's a very good start, yes.
There's like debates if he is a prophet or not.
Alright, we'll get to that. Anything else? So we do know something about him, but not too much. Well, let's see what we can find out about Luqman, just facts in general. So did anyone know Luqman was actually a black man? He wasn't Arab, as we might think. He was not rich nor poor. So he was average in his income earnings. He wasn't physically strong nor weak. And what I found the most interesting was he'd spend time examining how rulers and judges made their decisions. He found it a hobby, sort of, to do that. And it's fascinating because the reality is, I'd expect someone who was really wise to, be really secluded, but he was very out there. And that's something special, I think. And in Islam, we have 3 prominent black people who are like main figures, and they're Bilal, and Najashi, and Luqman. He's the 3rd. And so that's what I can tell you about him so far. But if we really want to start to understand Luqman, let's look at the guide of Islam. And that's the Quran. And there's, in Surah Luqman, there's an ayah that says, وَلَقَدْ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ إِنِ اشْكُرْ لِلَّهِ وَمَنْ يَشْكُرْ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. So this ayah tells us in itself that he was given hikmah, wisdom, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But stepping out of the ayah, just looking at the surah, this surah is called Surah Luqman. It's called after him. It's something extraordinary to have a surah named after you. Not all the Anbiya have this, yet he does. So this means he's something special, not ordinary. And let's take this further. So we said that not all Anbiya have their names in surah. So there's a debate, a huge debate, is Luqman a prophet or not? And the answer is given to us by Imam al-Sadiq and a very reliable source by him tells us this. And it goes as follows. I'm not going to read the whole thing out, so if you want to read it individually, that's okay. But I'll give you a summary. So basically, the story of Luqman in this extract from the quote of Imam Sadiq is that one day the angels, when he was by himself, came to him he couldn't see them, but he could hear them. And they asked him if he wanted to be the Khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so a prophet on this earth. And so he answers very interestingly, in that he says, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to, then I'll do it, because I know I'll have his backup and support throughout my entire prophethood with me. But if I really had the choice, I'd pass, because he says he wants to be excused. So the malaika, the angels, were very perplexed by this answer, and they were confused. Why would someone waste an opportunity to reach higher status to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not take that, and instead stay at their current level? And they ask him why, and he answers them by saying, that he'd rather not do it only because he knows that there is so much ajr in becoming a prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves it so much. However, there's a lot of danger. There's a lot of areas where maybe the ego can rise, or there is a lot of problems, and darkness will encircle him. The shaitan will be even stronger. And he thought that that wasn't his way of doing ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he passed. In itself, this is a lesson to us. He's telling us that it's not always what seems best that is the best action to take, but what's best in our relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we shouldn't always take what we think is best for us, but what is best for our relationship. Because if we take a step forward to a position that we don't necessarily need, but is good in a sense, however, we know this could lead us to some falls and some traps and stuff like that. Do we take it or not? Well, that depends on the individual. So now that we know he's not a Nabi, then why? Why was he given the choice? The choice to choose if he wants to be a Nabi or not? Because we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is alim al-ghayb. He knows what's going to happen. He knows that Luqman's going to say no. Then why did he ask him? What's the point? Does anyone have any ideas?
To show us how much he had that potential in that status.
Alright, that's good. That's a good answer. Anyone else?
To show us that not everyone wants to be a prophet, because it is actually a very hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a choice.
A choice. Okay.
With status comes responsibility, so you can't do anything. You need to have that responsibility when becoming a Nabi.
Yeah, that's true. I really want to go to Auntie Zahra's point, and it's choice. The human being, what differentiates us from the angels is this element of choice. That's what differentiates us. And that's why the angels were quite perplexed when he said he didn't want to take it. Because in their mentality, just by knowledge, being a prophet is better than not being a prophet. It's a higher status, it's closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in their minds, they thought it was better. So they were confused in that he took this choice. And the reality is, as Brother Dawood said, it's an example for us. He's showing us that although there is a higher position, although there is something that he can gain himself, maybe it's not all about that. Maybe his community did not require him to be a prophet at that time. The reality is, Luqman took it in a different perspective. He saw that for him to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it wasn't the best course to take. And we can take this, we can see this through an example. For example, we'll say this is, we'll call her Miss Holly, and she's a teacher at a school. She's a really good teacher, amazing at teaching her students. Every single year she's had a batch of students. They've come out really excelling, all the students, from the low to the high. And she's just personally really good at it. The principal obviously sees this after a couple of years of her serving, and he knows that it's time for her to be promoted. However, he also, to the vice principal position. However, he also knows that she's a really great teacher, and she'd be better off, for the community, it's better off for her to stay in that position, to stay as a teacher, because they need her like that. But he has to offer her the position because she deserves it. So he offers her the position, but on the inside he sort of knows that she's going to decline, because he knows she loves teaching and she knows that it's what's best for her community. And Miss Holly says no. And that's the exact situation. The exact situation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and Luqman, in that he did deny only because it was best. And thing is, if he wasn't a prophet, he is not ma'sum, he's not born ma'sum. And hence, how could he reach the level of a prophet if he hadn't reached the point of isma? The reality is, this is a level which allows one not to fall, not to make mistakes and all that. Yeah?
Do you want to explain asma in English?
Oh, isma.
Infallibility.
It's a hard one. Infallibility, yeah, so you don't make mistakes. So it's like you become, it's a level of sort of perfection in an instance, in a case. So yeah, he isn't a prophet, yet he had the ability to be a prophet. Because it's, how could Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ask him to be a prophet if he didn't have the capability to be one? It doesn't make sense in that. So he did have that level. And here we come to a point called acquired isma. It's something we as the Shia believe in. And it's a isma that can be obtained by someone who wasn't born with as a ma'sum. So wasn't born as a prophet or an imam. And it's if they reach a level of perfection, they keep perfecting themselves internally, they can reach that level. And Luqman reached that level. Our ulama can reach that level, and sometimes we from this level can't see that. We don't see them as something special, but maybe if we go talk to them, we feel their presence, then we can understand what it means. But until we're at that stage where we can see people internally, when we can understand the world around us, can we understand what this level of asma means. But at this stage, it's quite something we can't really comprehend. Let us ask, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the knowledge to transcend and reach that level. But the proof of his asma, the proof that he actually reached that level, and the proof of this asma's existence is this is a continuation of that same hadith by Imam Sadiq. He says, فَبِذَلِكَ أُوتِيَ الْحِكْمَةِ وَمُنِحَ الْإِسْمَ. So this is telling us how when Luqman actually received the wisdom from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this was in the middle of his life, after he really worked hard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did give him the wisdom. At the same time, it says, وَمُنِحَ الْإِسْمَ. Isma is, as we said, the infallibility. So, muniha is a past tense verb. It's something that, it's a doing verb. And that means it was given to him, not something he had. And the reality in this means that there is something that can be obtained in the level of isma, and that is the acquired isma. But for him, as we said before, for him to have this level of isma and to be given this hikmah, that he must have done something. And in Luqman's instance, it was a dua of knowledge. There are so many narrations and so many recordings of him actually making dua for the knowledge to come to him before he actually received it by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At first glance, this seems pretty ordinary, asking for knowledge. We probably all do it when it comes to exam time. We all go, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wafiqni, so help me in this imtihan, in this test. However, there's a difference between what we do and what he did. In that, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us in our pre-existing knowledge. For example, before the test actually arrives. We see this a lot in our societies. When we're faced with a trial, a challenge, then and only then do we start the dua process. However, what he did, he started at the start. Before he even comprehended knowledge, before he even started delving into knowledge, seeking it, he asked for it. And that's an important point, ladies and gentlemen. It's something that we can learn from. We should, instead of thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only when we need him, well, when we think we need him, obviously, we need him all the time, but we should always ask for him beforehand, when we haven't started anything. We always say, سَأَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى Allah, so I'll always, go into something in Allah's,
Depending on
Allah, thank you. So depending on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we should do it all the time, but we don't at this stage, and that's something that Luqman is showing us is important for us to transcend to that next level. It's also showing us the importance of dua. A lot of the time, we underestimate the power of dua. We always say that it's not important, or like we don't see it as a important thing. But the reality is, it's how we talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's our connection to Him. And a hadith 2-1 Basri by Imam Sadiq reaffirms this, and it goes as follows. O Abdullah, knowledge is not obtained by learning. Rather, it is a light which enters the heart of whoever Allah, the Blessed and Exalted, wishes to guide. So if you want knowledge, first find in yourself the reality of slavery. Seek knowledge by utilizing it and ask Allah to make you understand. Then He'll make you understand. So here, after Luqman became so attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, became one of His best servants, and asked for the knowledge, was it given to him? Because he knew that as much research as he wanted to do, he wasn't going to be able to get knowledge if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want him to. And it's like Imam Sadiq says, it's a light which enters us by Allah's will. And it is what Luqman realized, and it's what we should realize as well. Knowledge isn't something we own. It's something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala owns, and He'll only give it to us if we deserve it.
Is it if we deserve it or if we ask for it?
Ask and deserve, honestly. If we ask for it, that's showing us that we have that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that in a
What
sense.
if we deserve it, but we don't ask for it? What happens?
Great question.
You probably get some, but less than if you ask.
Yeah, maybe. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know how He judges things. Yeah.
Because even really evil people get some knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge
Yes.
could be a test as well.
So let's not be that person that before the test asks for the knowledge. Let's be that one that while studying the new content, before studying the new content, ask for it. And let us receive it, inshallah. In the Quran though, Luqman doesn't come as a figure in it per se as one who is has acquired husma or it doesn't talk about his hikmah in a sense. It talks about him as a parenting. Throughout every time he comes up in the Quran, he's advising his son. And his son respects him because we see his son in every single one. He's advising him throughout his entire life. And his son only respects him due to his level. Because we see him as a role model now, because he's someone that, even though wasn't ma'soom since birth, reached that level. And so for us, that's something we can aspire for. So obviously his son would respect him, because he became a role model to himself. And that's something that Luqman's trying to tell us. Well, Luqman teaches us by a story. We as future parents, or as parents now, should aspire to become great role models for our children, because they look up to us. They're the next generation, and they are our progeny. And so we should make sure that they're on the right track as well. And in Surah Luqman, this evidence of this is وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانَ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. So he says this word يَعِظُهُ, which is advises him. So that makes it clear that he tried his best to advise his son. And we can see by a study by Dr. Brooke Moran says that the child's biggest influence in his earliest stages of life is the parent. A lot of people say that these days teenagers are very rebellious and they don't listen to us, which is very true. We're sorry, parents, but we're like that now. But we have to understand that the parent still has a huge influence on the child, especially when he's young. So let us, before being too late, guide our children to the right path. Make sure that they not only respect Islam, but family, because family can be that connection to Islam. Let us build that role modeling passage so that whenever they need that guidance, that reconnection to Islam, they have that model platform, the family. And that's what Luqman's showing us, that before it's too late, let us get our knowledge across, get our wisdom across to the next generation. because it's important and it's key to the existence of Islam. My final point I'm going to talk about Luqman himself is his audience. One of the reasons Luqman didn't become a Nabi was because of his purpose, the audience he was supposed to address. Because after Luqman stepped back from the position of prophethood, Dawood alayhi salam was available and he took care of the prophethood for him. So that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had, there was another. So that means Luqman, his stepping back must have had a purpose, not only for himself but the community, because he thought of the community as well. And he's narrated to be helping strangers all the time, whoever they come. But whenever he came in the Quran, or whenever he came in the Hadith, he'd be talking to mu'min, so his son, the people that already believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he was a figure that did not address a community that did not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mushrikeen. He did not convert them, but his job was to reaffirm their belief, to reestablish and teach, like a teacher. And in this instance, in sort of respects, he's like an imam. He's a role model for us to follow, and he's one that reaffirms the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's Luqman for us. He's a role model for them and for us right now. Every single hadith we have about Luqman is from Imam's son. But why? Why specifically is it Imam's son? Is there a connection between them? Because all trusted sources are from him. What do you guys think? Or is that just coincidence?
He was somebody who had the ability to teach a lot, and we don't actually have very many narrations from the other Imams. So that's part of it. But also he was somebody who was very much involved in the process of disseminating knowledge. So perhaps there was a relationship between those roles.
They were teachers.
But teachers.
Like by then the university was already built, let's say, so they could address multiple people at once, and that they were already mu'min, which links to Luqman.
You've literally got all the points down, probably. Impressive. MashaAllah. So one was, yes, the school, the freedom to spread the knowledge at that time, because it was a time of weakness where for the caliphate, because it was the transition between the Umayyads and the Abbasi caliphates, and so there was that freedom to spread the knowledge, and because of him constructing the school, it was something that he could spread readily, and that's how we got the hadiths from him. The second was they were both teachers. They were both about knowledge. Their messages were both to reaffirm and spread knowledge to the wider community. And finally, it could also be because the people were ready. At the time, there was a clear distinction between the people that weren't the good Muslims, the ones that were lost, and the ones that still had hope or were on their way. And maybe it was time for them to understand their role as humans of choice and how they should choose to live their lives for the better. And so it was something necessary for the community. So let's also see what we learned from him and what we learned about choice. So let's go through each thing step by step. First of all, him being a black person. Nowadays we see it as a very discriminative term, but it can also be seen applied the other way, because it shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not discriminatory. We're not like the Jews. We don't believe that we are the chosen nation, the chosen ones. The Arabs and the Muslims aren't technically favored. They're just followers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His representatives. Any ethnicity, anyone who is truly a mu'min and one who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and has that connection with Him can be the most amazing of people, the best examples for us to follow. And we can see this again with the wives of the Prophet, the who were from different nationalities, from Africa, from Europe. But it was because of their iman that they became at such status. We see that he wasn't physically strong nor weak. The importance of this, and without a lot of money, he was pretty much normal, an epitome of normality. And what's important about that is it shows us that any one of us, because we're all the normal people, can reach a level if we actually commit ourselves to it. The thing is, he was normal, he tried to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he reached this level. So he becomes a role model for us in that he shows a level we can achieve. The thing is, we can't ever be ma'soom since birth. We aren't anbiya. But he wasn't. Yet he acquired this isma. And that's what we can learn about him. We can see that he was an amazing parent and how we should parent our children. From a young age, we should try to instill as much faith into them, as much relationship, connection to Islam, connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this family atmosphere. Let's try and incorporate Islam into actions the whole family can participate in, because that ingrains it into the person. It shows us the strength of dua, to not underestimate dua, because underestimating dua is like underestimating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's capabilities and abilities to help us. Let us take dua to that next level. Let's try making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything we do. Let me say that one. And finally, choice. It shows that the importance of choice in our lives. We are all given this choice by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a gift. It's what makes us have that potential to become better than the angels, better than creations that are pure knowledge. So it shows us that choice is important in our lives. It is something that we have to take these steps, these crossroads to the right path, because it's not always what seems best for us, it's what we know is best for our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.